Hey y'all, so I just wanted to come on here real fast and talk about something that is kind of represented in the month of June, and that is Pride. And for those of you who don't know what that means, it is kind of a celebratory month for the LGBTQ community, and this is my coming out story. So let's start from the beginning. I did not realize that I was different, I guess, or that I was attracted to the same sex until I have a very defining moment in my mind of when it would like I was like, yeah, this is what it is. This is what I am, and that happened when I was in seventh grade. And how that happened is I had just gotten a new phone and it was called the Instinct. And if anyone knows me, I'm very into technology. So I was just Googling Instinct because that was just the name of the phone. And it brought up something called the Instinct magazine. And I was like, oh, well, maybe this is it, whatever. And I clicked on it and it began to tell different stories about other people being gay and coming out and things like that, and sharing their experiences. And I was like, wow, they're similar to me. And I didn't even know I didn't even know I was very different until reading this. And and then it kind of hit me. I am attracted to the same gender as I am. And it was very, very scary, I guess, because I didn't want to be different. I didn't want to be kind of outcasted. And I obviously am growing up and live in the Bible Belt here in Tennessee. And I knew it wasn't super accepting. But I remember that happening when I was in seventh grade. And that's like the defining moment that I can very, very visually remember me realizing that I am gay. And so that was in seventh grade. And so fast forward to when I was like 15, I had kind of, sort of ish, conjured up the courage to tell my mother. And I was a sophomore in high school then. And I remember I was in art class, which was fourth block, which was the last class of the day. And I had texted her and I said, I have something I need to tell you. And she responded, well, what is it? What is it? And I said, I want to tell you when I get home. I think I had to go pick up like my paycheck for work or something because I was like 15. I don't know. And I said, will you let's just go on a drive or let's go on a walk or something. I don't really remember. I just knew it was going to be just me and her. And then she kept on. I was like, what's wrong? What's wrong? Because obviously she just wanted to see if anything was wrong or if anything was an emergency. And I finally just broke down and told her, I said, I'm gay. And I just remember her responding, what? And like, I couldn't respond. And so after I got off the bus that afternoon, my mom was waiting for me in her car with it, like the door open, just waiting for me. And we get in the car and she starts out by telling me how much she loves me and that never changes. But then it kind of got into a conversation where I was not really comfortable with talking about my sexuality yet, I guess. And I kind of denied it when it came up because I was not confrontational at this time. And we started talking about it. I was like, no, I'm not. I'm sorry. I still like girls. And so I kind of like reverted and I was like, oh, I'm just kidding. I didn't know what I was talking about. And so that happened. I think the fall of my sophomore year. And then came the spring of my sophomore year, and I was on the baseball team then, and so I was still playing baseball. And then I wrote her a note telling her how I like boys the way I'm supposed to like girls, and I left it in her car. I went out there one night, and so that way she'd see it in the morning. And a couple days go by, and she didn't mention it. So I asked her about it. I said, did you get that letter? And all that was said was yes. So we just didn't talk about it. And it was kind of like we just didn't talk about it anymore. So then I was 16 at this point because I was 15 in the fall of my sophomore year. And then the spring of my sophomore year, I turned 16. And then that's when I gave her the letter. So that summer after my sophomore year, I was 16. and I had met a guy, and we started talking, and we started hanging out, and we eventually started dating. And then, but I didn't tell my parents any of this. And then one night I came home, and they confronted me, and she said, "Who's Seth?" And she knew his name, and she asked me if I was gay, and I was like, yes. And she asked me how old he was, and he was older than me. I'm not going to go into details about that. He wasn't like illegally older than me, but he was a couple years older than me. And she was more upset about the fact that I was dating someone older more than the gay thing. And she was just concerned for my safety. So she was coming from a place of worry and love, and I know that now. But all I could see it as is, why is she doing this to me? Because I was sad, I was emotional. So then she told us not to talk, and this was on a Sunday. She's like, "You need to cut it off, stop talking to him." I was like, "Okay." Of course I didn't, because I'm stubborn. And so literally a week later, me and Seth were at the Froyo's, and we were sitting outside on the bench eating ice cream, and guess who drives by? My parents. And they caught me there, and I guess I should have been a little bit more sneaky, I guess. I don't know. But they caught me, and obviously they were upset because I had lied to them, and I went against their wishes, and it wasn't necessarily against the gay thing. It was more because of the age difference, like I said. And so I got in trouble for lying and grounded, of course. And then this was over the summer, and then that fall, I was still 16, I ended up going to counseling. And that was just to deal with my emotions and just kind of just deal with what was all happening in my life. So I remember I went to 5 sessions by myself. And then on the 6th session, my mom came with me to my counseling with me. And I remember we were talking about what it meant to be gay and like what me and my counselor had worked on. And on that 6th visit, she looked at me and she said, "I love you, and it's okay." She said I needed some time to adjust, which was understandable. But she said, "It's okay. I love you. You're gay. That doesn't mean you're any different. You're still my baby boy, and I love you." And so obviously it was very emotional because I'm a very emotional person. And then after that, it was just kind of like, we didn't really talk about it because there's nothing happening. But she doesn't know this, so if she's watching this video, she will find this out, and I'm sorry, Donna, but during this time, I was still talking to my boyfriend at the time. So she didn't think I was. I'm pretty sure she knew in the back of her mind, but I had changed his name in my phone to one of my other friends' names, so like no one could see her as him. And so this happened in the fall, and so by April, I had just turned 17. By April in that spring, I had worked up the courage to ask if I could start seeing him again, because according to her, she didn't know I was. And so she said yes, but it has to start slow. So we started out by hanging out like maybe once-ish, ever so often, and then finally it just kind of build and build and build. So that was my junior year. And then we were like dating during this time too. So then when I graduated high school, like it was completely different. Like they were so loving and accepting. And not only they were loving and accepting before, they were still loving me and stuff. They were just kind of confused about what being gay was, and they thought I would change as a person. But so my senior year, it was great. Like I was open, I was out, I was telling everyone, I didn't have to deny it. My parents, they loved me, and it was great. And then I actually ended up moving in with him my fall of my freshman year of college, and we lived together, and then we ended up breaking up, which is a different story in itself. But so I went through the struggles, and I went through hard times with coming out, but I would do it a million times over because I feel like it made me the person who I am today. And yeah, it sucked at the time, and I questioned whether or not my parents loved me, which I regret so much now because obviously they do. And it was just a shock to them, and it was something they had to adjust to. And little 15-year-old me was like, poor me, poor me. But it made me such a forgiving person today because not only was I upset that they weren't necessarily accepting at first, but I didn't put in perspective that they were shocked too. So I feel like I am more forgiving because I put myself in their shoes, and instead of being selfish about it, I kind of just realized they were also going through a lot, not just me. And like I said, I would go through it a million times over. And now I am super close with all of my family because during this time period, I didn't talk to them. I was very closed off. I didn't speak really a lot. I was kind of hateful. And before this, they knew me as this bubbly, happy person all the time. And I kind of not necessarily got depressed, but I was just very like selfish. And I saw it as, well, if they don't accept it, then they don't love me, which is obviously not the case. And so I got very upset and distant, and I became this negative person. And at a time where I should be growing with my family, getting close with them to help them better understand, I was becoming distant, which made them see, oh wow, he is a different person because of this. And so we were a little rocky there for a little bit, but now today we are in a great place. My dad makes jokes about it. My mom is accepting. Everyone in my family knows. No one has a problem with it. And so I am blessed to be able to be proud and open and just live this authentic life. And it wouldn't be possible without my family being there to love it, to be there to like support and love me and making me feel comfortable with who I am. And so that is my coming out story. And I hope you guys find it interesting, even if you're not gay, but even if you are, and maybe you need advice on how to come out, or maybe how to deal with your family, or how maybe they aren't accepting, or maybe they are, I would love to hear your stories. If you need any advice on anything, I would love to hear from you. So I hope you guys enjoyed that, and be sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe. Thank you.